Hey everyone, Hammer Dan here with Hammer Performance. So today we're going to show you how to check your squish band clearance after you've installed your big bore kit that you've purchased from us or whatnot. So briefly we'll go through some things that you'll need to go ahead to do this job. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. We'll go through some tools here. You'll need some cutters, some solder. So the thickness of solder that we're looking at is 1/16 of an inch. You can get it at any hardware store, Ace Hardware or any one of your hardware stores locally there. But we're looking for about 1/16 of an inch, which is about a 0.62 diameter, 0.60, 0.65, somewhere in there, diameter solder. We don't really want to go smaller than that. We want to make sure, because our squish band's going to come out around that 30 to 40 thou range. So 0.60, 0.62, 0.65 works really, really well. A couple other things you're going to need. You're going to need a torque wrench, okay? Something that goes from roughly 10 foot-pounds up to at least 50, 60, because we got to get to 42. Some red line assembly lube. If you purchased a package from us, then you probably got the red line assembly lube. That'll work really, really well to hold our solder. Otherwise, you can use some bearing grease if you have wheel bearing grease or something like that. That works really well as well to hold the solder. You're going to need a caliper. It doesn't have to be digital, but we'll need a caliper to measure our squish pieces of solder once we check our squish there. And we're going to be using some assembly lube that we have, some actual liquid assembly lube that we have. On the head bolts, if you have a little bit of fresh motor oil, that works as well, and we'll show you that when the time comes there. You'll need your heads, of course. You'll need the head gaskets. Other than that, that's about all we're going to need to go ahead to check our angled, or ours is going to be angled squish band, yours may not, but to check our squish band clearance here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to cut ourselves 6 pieces of solder, and roughly a little less than a 1/2 inch or so. So we'll go ahead and cut these pieces here. All right, so there we have it. We have our 6 pieces of solder there. And the next thing we're going to want to do here, now for the most part, most people are going to probably have their bike in a lift. We're working with our X1 that we're building here, so it's backwards for us, easier to show you guys or whatnot. But most people are going to have their bikes in a lift, and if you do, you want to put a jack underneath the bike and go ahead and jack up the rear end of the bike so the rear wheel is off the ground. Pull the spark plugs. Well, you're not going to have any spark plugs on it, but go ahead and put it in 5th gear. Grab the rear tire, and that way you're able to roll the motor over. Again, we highly suggest you get some PVC, short pieces of PVC pipe here like we've got set up here. That really, really helps to hold your cylinders down. It's a cheap tool that you can get there to go ahead and do that while checking the squish band here. So PVC to hold things down, rear tire up in the air in 5th gear so that it's easy to roll over, to move our piston up and down. We don't have that luxury the way we're set up here, so we're going to use a motor sprocket shaft wrench here to go ahead and do that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and move our piston all the way up to the top here. So just like that. So we have it all the way to the top. Again, you can roll the rear tire forward to get the piston all the way up to the top there. Next thing you're going to want to do is grab your red line assembly lube here, and we're going to put 3 dabs of this assembly lube on the piston here. And these 3 dabs are going to hold our solder in place. We want to kind of spread them out here. Again, you can also use a wheel bearing grease. That helps as well. But if you, like I say, if you purchased the full package from us, then you probably got some assembly lube, which helps do the job as well. So then we're going to take our solder here. We're going to go ahead and align our 6 pieces. Now you want to move it all the way out to the edge, but you don't want it so far out to the edge to where it's going to interfere when we move the piston down. And we're going to angle it, the outside ones of course, towards the center. The middle one will go right across the center there, like that. This one here will be at an angle towards the center there. This one over here will go ahead and angle right towards the center there like that. This one will be right in the middle. Just like that. And this one here, of course, will go ahead and angle towards the center. Okay, so there you have it. We got all 6 pieces on there. Make sure this one's up a little higher so it's not touching our edge there. This one too should be okay. We'll see when we go ahead. So when we get it to this point, we got all of our solder. We're pointing them all towards the middle, the outside ones anyways. We got them spread out on our piston. We're gonna then go ahead, you can grab your rear tire and jimmy the piston down into the cylinder. We want to go down about 2 inches or so. So we're gonna go ahead and hold that. Whoop. We lost a solder, piece of solder there. So we're going to go ahead and move that one and try and get it up out of there like that. Okay, now we should be able to, I think, run it down, make sure our solder doesn't move. Again, roughly 2 inches into the cylinder there. Okay, so we're set up 2 inches down into the bore. The next thing we're going to want to do is go ahead and put our head gasket on. Now I get the question all the time, you know, hey Dan, I've checked my squish band, do I need to replace my gaskets? You do not. You can reuse your gaskets. It's not a one-time squish only type deal. You can use them, you know, multiple times. Even if you've ran the bike for a little bit, you can go ahead and use them. I know, you know, in the years of drag racing, whether we're at Bonneville or out at the drag strip or whatnot, and we've had to rebuild motors or change piston, whatever the case may be, we've reused head gaskets, you know, quite a few times out at the track. So I know it's a little different situation. Some guys are, you know, real picky about it. You can, but for this application here of checking the angled squish band, you can reuse your gaskets. So we're going to go ahead and set our head gasket on there. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and set our head on there, our front head. See the nice big valves we got there. This is our BFH 120 plus package here with our trick conical springs and retainers. Kind of a sweet setup there. So we're going to go ahead and set our head on there. Okay, just like that. Now, of course, yours will be, you know, in the chassis, so you'll have to work a little bit in there. Not very difficult at all to do this in the bike itself. So now that we got the head on, we're going to need to go ahead and put our head bolts on, and we'll want to torque those to spec. Sometimes there's a sheet that comes in the Kinetic head gaskets here that gives you the torque specs. Keep in mind with this whole procedure here on checking angled squish band or checking the squish band clearance, we have an article on our website under the tech tips section called checking squish band clearance, and it's going to give you a full-blown description of what is an angled squish band, why do we need it, what does it do, how does it work, how does it bring power to the table, all those good things. In a nutshell, the squish band clearance that we're checking is going to be the distance between the piston when it's all the way up to the top and we put our head gasket on and the actual combustion chamber itself. Now on these heads, you can see here we've cut a 30-degree angled squish band into the head. Our piston is 30 degrees, so when that piston comes all the way up, it is going to align itself right into this combustion chamber here, and so the distance or the gap that we have between the piston and our angled cut here is going to be our squish band. Okay, and so real quick, with an angled squish band, we use it in drag racing a lot. Raised compression is one of the reasons, but also with a 30-degree, we're moving that charge as that piston comes up, you know, at piston speeds. As that piston comes up to compress that charge, we're moving everything towards the center of the valves. Unlike a flat top where we have maybe a bathtub style chamber here where the piston has a flat on either side that we've cut an angle here. If it was flat, then we've got to get that charge moving 90 degrees as we compress that charge. It's got to squeeze that charge in and then up and out the valves. So we gain there performance-wise by moving that charge at an angle towards the center of those valves, especially at higher piston speeds. So real quick here, we got our head on, so we need to torque our head down here. So again, you can use some motor oil to do this. We have some liquid assembly lube here. And so what you want to do on your head bolts is you want to take and you want to put one little dab inside the head bolt there on the two that we're going to be using here. And you want to do this on final assembly as well when we're ready to go ahead and torque the heads down for good. So there we go on that one and that one. And then secondly here, we're going to put just a little bit of oil, and again, motor oil assembly lube on the flat of each one of your head bolts here. Just like that. This is going to help us with a very accurate torque reading once we torque the heads down. That one there. And that one there. Doesn't have to be a lot, so don't get crazy with it. Just need a little bit of lubrication there. The two bigger ones. Two smaller ones. Okay. Let's see here. Will be an extension. Okay, so we're going to get these started here. And I'm just bringing these all the way down until I can barely feel them snug there. Just keep in mind our torque specs are going to be pretty minimal in the beginning here as we go. Like that. Okay, so our next step is to go ahead and torque these head bolts down. Keep in mind, go to our website again under our tech tip section, checking squish band clearance. It's going to give us the how-to, the rundown, what it is, and all that good stuff. The torque specs for the heads, you can find that under installing your engine kit, the sequence, as well as what we want to torque the heads down to. If you have the manual, it'll have the sequence in there, but it probably won't have the Kinetic torque spec. Please, please, please do not follow, if we're using Kinetic gaskets, you do not want to follow the torque specs that are in your manual that tells you the old, 90, or whatever it is, 20 foot-pounds and then 3/4 turn or half to whatever, all that crap doesn't work. We want to follow the Kinetic torque specs, okay? Kinetic torque specs is you start out at 9 foot-pounds, 14 foot-pounds, 22 foot-pounds, 35 foot-pounds, and you finish at 42 foot-pounds. And the sequence per the manual is going to be starting on the inside of the cylinder here with the short bolt. So inside short, outside short, and then you cross over to inside long, outside long. Okay, so we're going to set up here at 9 foot-pounds. Okay. I think we are. There we go. So then we do our outside short. Okay. Inside long. Okay, so that's 9. $14 is our next, following the same pattern. Next is 22. And then 35. We're going to finish at 42. Got to be careful on some of these. All right, 42. So once we get to this point here, we have everything torqued down. Now we're going to go ahead, if you got the bike jacked up, rear tire ready to go in 5th gear, you're going to want to now grab that rear tire from way down low as hard as you can and roll it really hard and fast up so that piston comes up and squishes the solder to the head, and roll it through top dead center. Do not go slow. Do not try to slowly work it up there. We want to go super hard and super fast so we get a nice even squish with that piston into the head, so that our measurement is equal and accurate as possible. Again, real low, hard and fast on the rear tire to go ahead and bring that piston up to squish it. We're going to go ahead and use the wrench here to go ahead and do that. Okay, just like that. Okay. So once you get to that point, we're going to go ahead and loosen in that same sequence, a little at a time, to take the head bolts off. Okay. Now, when you go to take the head off, keep in mind we may have some solder that has stuck to the head, so we want to keep track of what is where it has been stuck. Okay. Way here. Huh. We didn't get a squish. Wonder if I went the wrong way. Well, son of a bitch. All right, well, we all make mistakes. Shows we're not perfect. Suppose we can't edit that out either, can we?
Dude, my arms are getting tired.
Son of a... At least you get to see it twice. How about that? Okay, 9 foot-pounds. Unbelievable. $14. $22. $35. Finishing at 42. Okay, try this again. right spot. There. Heard it click. Okay. Again, loosen slowly here as we go. Shouldn't take this long. Should have the other one done by now. Loose, 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 loose. Okay. All right, now should be able to pull the head off. Voila. So all of our solder is stuck to our head. Okay, so you can go ahead and rotate the piston back up to the top there. Pull off your head gasket. Take a paper towel. Wipe off the assembly lube there on either side. Clean it up. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and measure our squish pieces of solder here once you clean them up. So we'll just go ahead and wipe them, and as you can see here, nice squish. Okay, grab our calipers here, make sure we're zeroed. And we're going to go ahead and just measure that squish piece of the solder there at 37 on that one. We're going to set that right here on this side. We'll grab the one across from it, wipe that one. So our goal here is between 30 to 40 thou is what we're looking for. Measure this one. We're at 35. Opposite side. Go ahead and check the middle here. I think Alex was sweating it a little bit, making sure this comes out right.
Oh, I know it's going to be good.
33 on that one. And you're going to see some variance. You'll see a little variance from side to side, and you'll see variance front to back. Keep in mind that piston is rotating on the wrist pin. Okay, so as it comes up and squishes, you may not get perfect from front to back. So this is the other side in the middle. We're at 33. And then we'll check our front. Okay. 30. And the opposite side. So this looks really good. We want to see an average between 30 to 40 thou. We're at 29.5 on that one. So we're good. I get a lot of questions sometimes. Guys will ask me, hey Dan, what if, you know, some of my readings are below 30, like that one there was 29, even 28, 27, somewhere in there, but then your middle ones are say 32, 33, and then your end ones are 35. You average that out, you're still above 30. We're still good to go there, okay? You know, I get guys that are like, hey, I'm at 37. Do I need to try to tighten that up? listen, we're splitting hairs here when we look at that and try to think we should tighten it up, getting it closer to 30. Anything below 30 thou, we get into race bike territory where we're really pushing that squish band, and that's the last thing you want to do in a street bike application is try to push that squish band, because you can cause yourself, as things heat up, to have piston to head contact, and we don't want that. So, and it's very important that we check this squish band as well. I've had guys that have called me and had mentioned that their bike is noisy. They don't know why. They don't know what's going on when they start it up. And I go round and round to try to help them to figure out what's wrong. And the next thing you know, I ask them if they've checked their squish band, and they never did. And they go check it, and they realize they're at 24, 25, and they're having head contact. Okay, so super important that we do this. It's a very easy check. If you're better than me at it, then it takes less time. You do got to make the squish, but it's pretty simple to do. It's very important. This is something we cannot check on our end. Now, the way we've set up our compression heights with the pistons, our cylinder heights, our stock, that type deal, 20 thou base gasket, 30 thou head gasket, 99.9% of the time it should put us right in that sweet spot of 30 to 40 thou on the squish band clearance. Okay, but it is important that we check it, because on occasion, for whatever freak reason, we've had guys come out either a little high or a little low. Very rare, but it does happen. So we definitely need to check the angled squish band. It's very, very, very important here. Other than that, on a lot of our horsepower packages, you won't need to check valve to piston clearance or anything like that, for the simple fact that we've had our pistons made for us with deeper eyebrow pockets and bigger eyebrow pockets, so that we don't have these issues, okay, with our packages on the way we've set them up. So there you have it. That is checking squish band clearance in a nutshell. Pretty straightforward. If you have any questions or comments, whatever the case, shoot them down below. Also, apparently there's a little thingy up in the right hand corner up here for YouTube to click on to follow us or follow our channel or whatnot. You can click on that as well. Other than that, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Peace out.